very special guest with us. Even though her father passed away when she was about a year old, she always wants to find out anything about him. She lives with her mother and her grandparents, but she gets to see her dad's Italian side of the family. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Penny. So Penny, I heard you got your name from a song called Pennies from Heaven. But do you really have an exact idea of heaven?
My idea of heaven has nothing to do with clouds or angels, but it does involve butter pecan ice cream, swimming pools, and baseball games.
That's nice. Now let me ask you this. Do you agree with your family not telling you anything about your father?
Well, I think about that all the time because they kept it from me of how he passed away.
Do you mind if I ask you how your father passed away?
Well, my father was born in Italy, then moved to America when he was only 2 years old, and didn't really get his citizenship totally taken care of. But his brothers did, so my uncle went out and got him a radio to listen to the Dodgers game.
Now, is this your Uncle Dominic?
Yes, and those radios were considered the most expensive radios. And Americans thought Italians shouldn't have those kind of nice things, so they took my uncle and my father away. And later my uncle was released, but my father wasn't. And he was put in a second intermediate camp, and that's where he passed away because he was ill.
Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. But why weren't Italians allowed to have such a nice radio?
Well, after Pearl Harbor, every American thought that Italians were enemies, especially my father, because he didn't get his citizenship all taken care of, and he wrote for the Italian newspaper.
Okay, how about I ask you some other questions? How do you feel about your mother dating the milkman, Mr. Mulligan?
At first, I was totally against it, but then I saw how happy my mom was, and Mr. Mulligan is a really nice guy.
Your cousin Frankie can be some type of troublemaker, I hear, and he wanted to find some treasure, if I'm correct?
Frankie is a troublemaker. The treasure was my Grandpa Felucci's, and it was in my noni's basement. When Frankie almost found it, I wasn't paying attention, and my arm got stuck in a clothes wringer.
Now, when that happened, it had to have changed your life forever.
It did for many reasons. One, I could have partially lost my arm because I could have not had any feeling in it. And the other reason was when that happened, my mom and Uncle Dominic got in a huge fight, and he left.
Describe how you felt when you got mobility back in your arm.
It was great. I got my arm back to normal and got out of the hospital, which I was happy
When
about.
Uncle Dominic got back at your house, what were you feeling at the time?
I was a little mad at him for leaving, but then he went on and on about my father, saying it was his fault that he passed away.
When he said it was his fault, what were you feeling?
I felt terrible about being mad at him, but I tried cheering him up to making sure he knew it wasn't his fault, and I think that made him feel a little bit better.
What was it like for Mr. Mulligan to ask you for your mother's hand in marriage?
I was very shocked that he asked me, but I was happy that he had me involved too.
Do you now have a different perspective of heaven?
Yes, I do. It still involves butter pecan ice cream, of course, but the thing that changes is that Uncle Dominic has a house, a family, and a happy life.
For coming, Penny. It was such a pleasure to meet you, and I hope to see you again. Thank you for
soon.
watching. Have a great day, and see you next time.